Thank you, everyone, for being here. It is so deeply appreciated, and I have a suspicion that it probably feels pretty good for all of you to be standing here together in solidarity after what we have been witnessing in the news. So thank you for being here. My name is Erin Erickson. I am the founder and director of Missoula Rises, organization in action, founded in love. And as you guys know, my very favorite thing to have you all do is contact your members of Congress repeatedly and keep the pressure on them, and contact our local and state legislators and keep the pressure on them. And when we asked you guys to do that this week, we put out demands about 7 days ago that you contact Senator Tester, Senator Daines, and Representative Gianforte, and you did it. And you came out in numbers. And the result of that was that Senator Tester decided to co-sponsor the Keep the Families Together bill in the Senate. That was you. That was you. That was us acting in concert in love. That was us. So give yourselves a big round of applause. Feel good about it, but then know that this is just the beginning. These policies are still in effect. As Rebecca mentioned, the executive order was simply gaslighting. It did not solve this problem, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But the other thing that Senator Tester did, because I know that he still felt the heat from Missoula and across the state of Montana, is he went one step further. And he ended up writing a letter a few days ago to the head of the Department of Homeland Security, Kirstjen Nielsen, and Attorney General Jeff Sessions to demand that they stop separating families at the border and that they abolish the zero tolerance policy. That was you. That was us. The reason that happened is because we were calling, we put the pressure on, our voices matter. We had a direct impact on federal policy. We did that. So that needs to stay in your mind, it needs to stay in your heart, and we have got to keep up the pressure. And it can't just be calling and writing letters. There's going to be a time where we're going to ask you to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, where you're going to have to put your body on the line for people who cannot have a voice right now because they're detained, like Tomas. So the other thing that Senator Tester did for us specifically is he wrote us a statement that he wanted me to read today. Okay, so this is for our rally specifically. Thank you for being here today and for making your voices heard. Ripping children from their mothers and fathers is sick and heartless, and it's contrary to our values as Montanans and Americans. Let me be clear, there is no law that requires the Department of Homeland Security to separate children from their parents. I'm going to interject here. There is no law. There is no law. This is a policy that was instituted by this administration. And even after the news from the White House today on the executive order, there are still more questions that demand answers. These families remain in limbo, and that's unacceptable. That's why I am sponsoring the Keep the Families Together Act to hold the administration accountable and keep families together. I am the only member of Montana's congressional delegation who is sponsoring this bill. Let that sink in. He is the only member of our congressional delegation that is standing for keeping families together. We can have a strong and secure border without separating children from their mothers and fathers. And as the ranking member of the committee that writes the budget for the Department of Homeland Security, I also want to say that improving our nation's security and treating human families with dignity are not mutually exclusive. It is time for folks to stand up and defend our American values by passing bipartisan immigration reform to fix this broken system and keep families together. So please, keep calling my office, as well as Senator Daines and Congressman Gianforte, and demand action. The work you are doing can truly make a difference. It is making a difference. We must protect the values that our nation was founded upon. Sincerely, Jon Tester, United States Senator. Since I have you here and I have a captive audience, I have some homework for you, some things to do, some action items. First and foremost, Senator Daines. He is on the Department of Homeland Security Committee, okay? Not the Appropriations Committee, but the committee. He has a direct hand in determining whether or not these policies stand. That is, our senator has a direct hand. So what you're going to do is you are going to get on the phones, you are going to email, you're going to write letters to the editor, you're going to go to his office, you're going to hand deliver them. In any mode that you can, we are going to flood him and put the pressure on him to end the zero tolerance policy, period. If you're going to do that, put your hand up. And you're going to do it every day. You're going to do it every day. You're not going to do it once. Every day. I know you will, Eileen. Okay, so that's action item number 1. Action item number 2 is going to focus on Gianforte. So Congressman Gianforte actually supported legislation that would abolish separating families if the wall was funded. Okay, that I think we can all agree that it's sick. Because we do not use children and families as political pawns. You are going to call him, email him, fax him. You are going to, even though I know he doesn't answer calls, I know he doesn't respond in kind, it doesn't matter. The pressure matters. We know that it works. So you are going to stay on top of him, and you are going to continue to call and harass the out of him until he agrees to stand against and abolish the zero tolerance policy. Okay? Complete rejection of the zero tolerance policy. And then we are also going to stay on Senator Tester to ensure he's doing the right thing, to ensure that he continues to do what he needs to do, that he provides no funding for the Department of Homeland Security until the zero tolerance policy is abolished.
We should thank him for what he did.
The other thing we need to talk about is not just the federal policy. As you heard, we have an issue in our own state right here with ICE racially profiling migrant workers, arresting them, and then detaining them in our state, in our county detention centers. So we have called upon our governor to please tell us and commit that he will not continue to enable ICE's presence in Montana. Governor Bullock has done some very good things for immigration policies in our state so far. He's committed to not using our troops, sending them to the border to support what's going on down there. But Governor Bullock, we need more from you. We need more. We need you to stand up for the migrant workers here in our state. It's not acceptable for ICE to be pulling over vehicles that have Texas plates. That's happening in our state. It's racial profiling. It's not okay for ICE officials to stop at a gas station in Havre and question someone because they're speaking Spanish and they have brown skin. That is not okay. That is not Montana. To stop enabling ICE in this state. It does not reflect our values. The governor did write a statement for our rally today, which we appreciate, and I'm going to read what the governor wants you all to hear today. Dear friends, advocates, activists, and all Montanans, thank you for being here to speak out against the Trump administration's policy of separating families at the border and in support of comprehensive immigration reform. I want you all to know there are no Montana National Guard troops on the southern border. Back in April, I refused to send Montana National Guard members to the border based on a tweet by the president because of my concerns and lack of scope and mission. The president is using immigration policy to divide our nation by discriminating and marginalizing whole groups of people, even American citizens. The president's recent actions ripping children away from their mothers and fathers further highlights the need for comprehensive immigration reform. As governor and as a father, I am disgusted. These atrocities should never happen, and they must end immediately. Congress needs to work together to address the immigration challenges in our country, but we will not be intimidated into abandoning our values or our humanity. We must be reasonable and treat recently arrived people with dignity. I also want to thank Senator Jon Tester for his support for the Keeping Families Together Act, which has the support of 48 U.S. senators. Not Danes, don't forget, not Danes. The safety of Montanans is my top priority, but the United States must never lose its values of compassion and as a safe place for shelter to those seeking refuge in a better life. This, at its core, are the values of America, the values America was built on, and the values we share as Montanans. It is because of the work of people like you and folks all across Montana that these violations did not go unnoticed and were not swept under the rug by this administration. Thanks again for being here today. Sincerely, Governor Steve Bullock. We hit the state, now we got to talk local, okay? So as you know, in our own county, we have Tobas here in the detention center. There are 2 other detention centers in Montana that are housing ICE detainees. One's in Cascade County and, Rebecca, where's the other one? Cascade, Missoula County, and in Shelby, the private prison, yeah, okay. So anyway, on a local level, we have our county cooperating with ICE. I'm assuming none of you are okay with that. No. Well, I also asked our local elected officials if they were okay with that. And some of them were, a lot of them weren't, but they wrote a statement today, and I'm going to read the statement that they wrote collectively, and then I'll read their names who signed off on it. But what I'm going to ask of you is that you put pressure on our county commissioners, on the sheriff, anyone that will listen to you in our community, that we do not cooperate with ICE, that we are not going to detain migrant workers in our county. Dear Montanans, the forced removal of thousands of children from their parents for coming to the United States border is cruel and inhumane. These actions are an affront to human rights. Removing children from their parents is eerily reminiscent of darker times in our nation's history and world history. It reminds us of the times Native American children were removed from their parents and placed in white schools. It reminds us of the internment of Japanese Americans in places such as Fort Missoula during World War II. It reminds of when Jewish children were removed from their parents and warehoused and experimented on by Nazis. These are shameful times in our past that we as a nation should strive to overcome, not repeat. The zero tolerance practice is cruel and harmful to children. Placing children in these conditions makes them more likely to be physically, emotionally, and sexually abused. We need secure borders, but the warehousing of children is not the answer. We are better than this. The United States promises hope, a better life, and the American dream. We need to rise to this promise. We are united as Missoula elected officials against the zero tolerance policy and do not want state or local resources used to enforce this policy.
Yeah.
We call upon other elected officials and citizens to join us in this position. We can do better, and as a nation we must. The following elected officials joined together in standing against the zero tolerance policy and not utilizing state or local resources to enforce it in any way. Representative Bryce Bennett, Representative Willis Curdy, Representative Kimberly Dudick, Representative Ellie Hill, Representative Shane Morgeau, Representative Andrea Olson, Representative Marilyn Ryan, Representative Dick Barrett. And you know, if you're here, put your hands up. Let us see you.
Yeah.
Woo! I called your name, put your hand up. Or feel free to come up here. Come on up. Senator Tom Facey, Senator Sue Malik, Senator Nate McConnell, Senator Diane Sands, Alderwoman Stacey Anderson, Alderwoman Mirtha Becara, Alderwoman Michelle Cares, Alderwoman Heather Harp, who has been instrumental in a lot of this work, Alderman Jordan Hess, Alderwoman Gwen Jones, Alderwoman Julie Merritt, one of our own, Alderman Brian Van Lossberg. Thank you. Thank you. Is go to MissoulaRises.com or join us on Facebook. You can download Amplify there. It's an app for your phone. Every day, it's going to remind you to make these calls. It's going to give you the phone numbers, and it's going to give you the scripts. You know exactly what to say, how to say it. There's no excuse for not doing it. Thank you.